Welcome to the Flivver Channel Livestream. Tonight we have the usual collection of YouTube hooligans. Randall from the YouTube channel Shed by the Tracks. Randall is an honorary member of Possum Lodge and brings his unique blend of grandpa humor to our show. Randall's incredible home-built speedster, the Prairie Flyer, is a wonder. He claims to have designed it all in CAD, that's cardboard and determination. Rob's enthusiasm for Ford Model Ts and Model As is outshone only by his generosity to others. Rob's family are Model T people going back generations, and he is a wizard at repair and maintenance. Vince from the YouTube channel Baggett Corner. Vince focuses on stationary hit-and-miss engines, and more recently, restoring a fantastic original Ford Model TT truck. There's nothing he can't fix. And I'm Steven. My channel, Flivver Channel, focuses on the quirky characteristics of antique cars. I explore the fun and challenge of owning and driving a Model T, and the history of early automobiles. Thanks for joining us tonight. So we drew straws, and I came up with the short straw. I get to go first. So I'm going to show you a little thing that I found in a pile of Model T parts my dad left. So I'm going to start with this weird and wonderful thing. You know, I add this to the very long list of things I wish I could ask my dad who's passed away. So if we ever get a seance going on one of these live streams, I know what I'm asking, because I'd like to know what the heck this thing is. So everyone, this is Rob, a friend of mine from Kitchener, Ontario, and he's got a funny little wrench he found in his dad's Model T.
Yeah, so hello everyone. So as Stephen mentioned, I did come across a rather bizarre tool, which was clearly fit for purpose. I would say it was built for a particular task, and I do not know what that task was. I will show it to you here. You'll see that there's quite an extension welded to the box end of a half-inch wrench, and then what looks like a lobster claw on the other side. Yeah.
Could you imagine how surprised we'll be when we finally find out what it is? If we ever find out.
We find out find out that it's a cat toy or something.
Cats were made differently back then.
Yeah, I think maybe.
Well, my Speedster is the car that eBay built, because I started with that frame and engine, and then COVID hit, and there was no place to go to look at parts, you know. So my mailman hated me. I mean, I had, pieces of cast iron showing up, and
he's lugging an engine block that's in a cardboard box.
I saw a pair of calipers on your bench, Randall, that in the last video you had there. It's pretty nice.
Oh, I deny it.
Very high tech.
I deny it. No, that you could. Yeah. All I use is a tape measure.
You deny it.
Hard stick.
Just make sure you send the instructions on how to use the calipers too.
Yeah. You probably have one of those newfangled ones with the battery and the digital readout. I still like using the battery-free vernier scale ones, because the battery's never dead, and although it's getting harder and harder to read those little tick marks, I find.
Well, you have to be able to do math to use one of those.
And I never have the right glasses on. Cool, plug it in, yeah. Yeah, thanks, Bugnut. Yeah, I'll plug it in sometime when I've got better fire prevention at hand.
That's no attitude to get YouTube views. Steve.
I know, this is why I struggle with YouTube. I just don't take the right chances.
Stephen, you have to use the AI, and you have to plugging it in, and then sparks shooting out of your head and stuff like that.
So we thought today we would talk about wheels and tires. No particular details that we're trying to cover, just some of our experiences, funny stories, technical things we've learned along the way. Between the three of us, we cover some of the bases of Model T through Model A wheels.
There is some great advice right off the bat from Joe Doucette, who says, with old wheels, I say, what goes around hopefully comes around, but no guarantee. And that is true.
Yeah, even roundness isn't a guarantee on these old wheels. No.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
The original Model T, which of course debuted in 1909. I think they started production in 1908, a small number. They began with what was called a non-demountable clincher style rim. If you look at the slide here, you'll see that the rim has a bit of a hook to it on either side. And then similarly on the tire, on the right picture, you'll see a bead, and that bead goes around the entire tire on both sides. When you install that tire with a tube onto a clincher rim, what happens is when the pressure builds, it will push those beads in underneath those ridges. The wooden wheels include wooden spokes and a wooden felloe. That's the inner part of the outer wheel.
I'll just start out by saying, when I do anything with this car, I do it on the basis of putting myself in the position of an Okie headed for California in the Dust Bowl. He's halfway there and something goes wrong. So we got to figure out how to do it without any of the proper tools. So that's kind of how I go about it. Yeah, there you go. It's got a little piece of chain on it too, I see.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a motorcycle tire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've even heard of people using motorcycle tires on Model Ts.
Yeah. They wear off fast, from what I've heard. But they do look kind of neat,
Yeah.
But we can't have that because Henry didn't do it.
Right.
That's it. Yeah, and we're all purists.
Yeah, that would be a 21-inch tire at that point, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we're at 21 now.
Yeah.
And they're thicker than your tires or whatever. The whole idea is to get the height to about 30 inches.
Right.
No matter if it's a 21-inch rim or not.
Now, it looks like that is a collection of sharp metal objects that's designed to take the end of your finger off. Is that safe to say? Yeah.
Yeah, don't stick your finger in there while you're doing it. Yeah, you'll lose it.
It's a process. It really it's not for a quick change as we know it today.
No.
I like this comment too from Russell. So now you're loosening that turnbuckle to remove it, so that the rim expands back.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the rim to pop back. It's not going to go all the way. You got to stick something in there and jimmy it over.
Pry it over a little.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. Yeah. I got a little scissor jack I stick in there, and it pushes the rim apart, which incidentally, I made. Tube flaps are expensive. They're about $40 a piece. I made all my tube flaps from the old tubes that were in the old tires.
Okay.
I just cut them up and put them around there.
I thought you were going to say the handyman's secret weapon.
On this, that's funny you say that. On the spare tire, I did do that. I just wrapped it with duct tape because all it's got to do is keep the tube away from it's not nuclear science. You just need it away from the rim so it doesn't, rub on it.
So in the last couple of years, 26 and 27 of the Model T, they offered an optional wire spoked wheel, which is much less maintenance, stronger, and it was not a terribly expensive option in the time, but it was an upgrade option, and especially if you wanted a spare, so if you wanted to get 5 of them. But as it turns out, the Model T wire wheels were unique only to the Model T. When they started making the Model A in 27, 28, they made a wheel that looks almost exactly the same as a Model T wire wheel, but it is different and they're not interchangeable. But what I found was that Model A wheels are a lot less expensive, a lot more available, and I really wanted to see if I could adapt them onto the Model T and use them as that stopgap measure. And I also wanted to try a bit bigger tire to see how, if it would stabilize the handling of the Model T a bit, give it a little bit more compliant a ride and a little bit more rubber on the road. So I went to the mid Model A size, which was the 19-inch. So it's a smaller rim than the Model T and a bigger tire, gives you the same final overall diameter, like Randall was saying. I'm using a technique that I learned on the YouTube. Some people call it the garbage bag trick. It's a method for mounting tires that doesn't require any tools. You do it all just by hand. But they can be a bear to get on. But with this trick, it was remarkable how well this works. Now, these are new tires, so they're more compliant than an old tire would be. You can see the green rims in the background. Those are the old Model T rims. Oh yeah, there's the drop center diagram. I've got a whole video on this if you're interested. Go to Flivver channel. It's one of my most watched videos.
I use that as a defense because when somebody walks in the garage and they see a container of baby powder, they wonder why I have that out there. And it is for that reason.
Sure it is, Rob.
Yeah.
They're just about to go.
Just about
to go.
Should have made popcorn.
Yeah, there it goes.
There she goes. So Stephen, did you get any death threats for putting those Model A wheels on that T?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's so. Model A wheels on a T is one of the controversial topics in the whole Model T community.
Yeah,
I didn't realize when I started learning about old pre-war cars that some people get really emotional about these things.
they do.
There's a few, let's call them hot button issues, you really don't want to talk to people about, because if you do, you're just going to end up in a fight, and it'll end in fisticuffs for sure. So one of them is, what oil do you use and why? Never ask that question. Ignition, should it be the old wooden coils, or do you put a distributor on? Oh boy, that'll get people riled up.
Yeah.
And another one I learned is putting Model A wheels on a Model T. There are many people who have done it and are very happy with the results and never seem to have any trouble. And then there are other people who swear that it's absolutely a disaster. They're going to break. They're not supported properly on the small Model T hubs. The steering geometry will be all wrong. Like, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
So I was pretty careful when I was working out whether I would put the Model A wheels on the Model T or not, to satisfy myself that that it was going to be fine, both secure, safe, and proper alignment, and steering geometry, suspension behavior, that sort of thing.
All that stuff that I don't care about.
Yeah. Well, you would if you had messed up your car by putting the wrong thing on there. But I did manage to prove to myself that it's okay. I've got a couple of videos where I did some slow motion footage of the car going over some really rough terrain, and the Model A's, Model A wheels run really nice on the T. I think it's an improvement, and they don't look too out of place. Tonight's topic is pre-war cars in the movies. What's new, guys? Hey, Randall, I saw you've got a new project in your shed from your last video you announced.
Yeah, just what a 65-year-old guy with vertigo needs, a motorcycle.
Let's try this arrangement.
That was a good movie.
You recognize it already, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, now I figured it out. I was like, I have no idea what this movie is.
See what Michael Johnson noticed here. That's interesting.
True flat glass, not movie glass. Lots of reflection.
All right.
Very good.
I am going to do one of Randall's clips here.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Grand Prix de France, 1908. Of course, it's going to be race cars. That's Randall completely, obviously. Man, you absolutely have me on this one. I have no clue. I can only guess that maybe a clue is in that banner up above there.
You're gonna be surprised, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Very surprised.
Covered wagon and horses.
Yeah. Gotta have, usually got to have horses and shooting in it.
What was that one I watched not too long? The War Wagon, I think it was. Is it Chitty Chitty? Oh, I shouldn't give it away. Is it Chitty Chitty?
Yeah, it is.
No kidding.
Russ got it right here. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Oh my gosh, I have. How stupid am I? I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking, no, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That wasn't a. Yeah, that was. I actually have a Matchbox Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car I had from when I was a little kid with the wings and everything. I wish I had a clue where I put it, but I have it somewhere. That's too bad. I'll have to dig it out for some other time.
There we go. Show us now. There it is.
My God, Randall's got the same one.
That one's incredibly good condition, Randall.
I got to dig
into characters and everything.
I've got the same one, Randall. Without the characters in it. I've had it since I was a little kid. My God.
Oh, this movie at, I don't know what I was, 8 years old when I saw this. It just, it had obviously such an influence on me.
No doubt.
No kidding. Especially when he's working in the shed here.
Yeah, working in the shed and pushing out. I've lived this.
Oh, there's a CN train right over there.
I was going to say, this shed must be near the track. Bugnut asks, are we going to see wings on the Prairie Flyer?
Yeah, that's what we need.
Pulled out wings.
And there it is. Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Man.
I was convinced you could build something like that in a shed.
And you did. And now Vince says, this is a long clip, everyone, but it's just eye candy. It's just one thing after another. So here we go.
I'm sure that this is going to get named real quick. It was lots of eye candy, like you say, Stephen, but it was a dragger. I mean, you really had.
So what's that? A Dodge?
You had to be in on the. You had to be interested in the plot for sure.
The obligatory drone shot.
Oh, back before the drones, they were using the big cranes and everything, or an airplane. Right now, they're using drones. You get that big sky shot with the drones now.
Yeah. There's your Pierce arrow.
The real historians, I guess, would be going over slow-mo, all this kind of stuff, and kind of nitpicking probably. And
Luckily, we're not real historians.
Exactly.
I just love looking at the cars. I don't even look at the actors. That's a center door. The oval rear window.
Maybe there's only Jeremiah left in them. We all gave
I wanted to show this scene coming up slow. I think I see the Prairie Flyer in this one.
Oh no, Stephen, we gotta. You can pause it. Our live stream has been terminated due to continuously unmonitored use of content that belongs to somebody else.
Oh, you're serious?
I'm serious, yeah. Yeah, bring me up on camera. I can show you. I'm gonna show you this.
All right.
So we got cut.
Unbelievable.
Can you see it?
Oh yeah.
Well, we're not live anymore.
I thought you were quite allowed to do this as long as you were talking over it and discussing and stuff. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I saw 11 or more people last time I looked, so welcome. So before we get started, there's Earl.
That's all. Where's your cat? Even he must have a cat.
No, I don't have a cat here. My brother has one. He shows up into my videos now and then.
Maybe adopt him.
Yeah. If you want views, you got to have a cat. So before we get started, just an announcement. We run these live stream videos every first Thursday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern. So feel free to join us every month. And we may occasionally run one halfway through that period as well, like an extra one if we have a special guest that can only make it at that time or something. So watch your feed for announcements like that. They tend to run less than an hour, and we generally have a theme or a discussion topic prepared to talk about, but feel free to ask questions about anything, and we'd be happy to try and answer them for you from our lack of experience or from, maybe we'll put the call out to other viewers who might have the answers. I know that there's a lot of people watching who know a lot more than either of the three of us.
Randall, did you collect all that money for the lottery that we were on? How many minutes we could get into this one before we got knocked off the air? Did you?
What's the pool?
How much money? How much money on the pool do we got for how many minutes we can get into this video without getting knocked out?
See? That didn't take long. That didn't take long, did it? That was perfect. Perfect timing.
That's why my wife always says, "What are you and your no good friends talking about tonight?"
Hooligans. We're just hooligans.
Good friends.
Right on. So who wants to go first? We're going to talk tonight about parts that we either felt we had to make ourselves because we couldn't buy what we needed, or just wanted to make ourselves because we could. When you've got an old car, like a pre-war car, you find that there's certain parts that are, let's say, simple enough that they can be made yourself. And oftentimes, a lot of the parts are no longer available, so you don't have a lot of choice.
Yeah, it just kind of dawned on me that although you can buy a needle, for a fuel mixer, for an antique engine pretty cheaply, it was just something that I got lots of stock kicking around here. And I got brass, I got aluminum, I got stainless, got all sorts of bar and hex stock and everything else. And I just thought, why not just start making my own needles? And there's what I ended up with. So that was that's the valves. Not an exact replica, but if I wanted to make an exact replica, I sure could.
Now I've got a little video clip from Randall here of when he was lowering his Speedster, the front brackets. You were drilling up into the frame for the frame mounts at that point.
Yeah, I'm going up through that first cross member there.
Those are the brackets you made. You just bent them up from flat bar.
Flat bar. Yep. They're 1/4 inch and they're doubled, so I've got a 1/2 inch once I'm done. Whether it's safe or not, it's immaterial. It's got to look right. But you know, I looked at a lot of different designs for doing this, and finally I just kind of combined them and came up with what I was capable of putting together.
Mhm. So to do
It-
this pushes the front axle forward, right?
yeah, it's forward of you know, where it usually fits up in there, and then it's,
Oh,
you know, higher.
Mm-hmm.
The
I
springs
see.
higher.
I was trying to understand the purpose. Now I get it. Yeah, that makes
It's to
total sense.
lower it.
Yeah, I
Right.
Yeah,
went 5 inches down, or 5.5, I think. I lowered it.
and that's
Okay.
going to make you faster, right?
Not so far, it hasn't.
Any mods and parts that I've seen you do, Randall, everything looks really nice and clean. Like you seem to be a real master at nice, clean, tidy looking work.
Yep, and
Well,
it all
thank you.
suits the car just so perfectly.
Totally.
The car
Doesn't look
is
out of place.
nothing's out of place. Exactly. Yeah, it's fabulous.
Well, the whole thought process behind that car was, you know, what could a 16-year-old kid do in I suppose 30, you know, it's the old man's car, it's all wore out. You know, and you've got no money, you know, you've got no tools, you just got to do it what you can do and get it ready for the fairground. That was the thought process. You know, I suppose there's probably about yay much yet. The guys that did it back in the day, they'd take it right down there, just as low as they could go.
Wow.
Especially if you were board track racing, you'd take it down to like 3-4 inches off the floor.
Right.
So,
I've never seen a video of that before, Randall. I didn't know that they board track raced them. Like, do you have any, like, again, sidetrack, but like sidetrack, board track. How many board tracks were there across the states? Do you know? Any idea?
well, actually, there was one right out by Des Moines.
Was there?
Back in the 20s, yeah.
Bugnut says he's seen pictures of people in tees playing polo. Now
Yeah.
that would be dangerous.
Crazy, eh?
Board track racing. Holy crap! Look at the size of that track.
Yeah.
There's
Boy,
look at the slope on it. This
Look at
motorcycle one. 1915 to 1917.
wow. Yeah, Joe says a lot of trees for a track. Darn right it would be. Again, how do you stop the wood from popping if it gets wet? I don't know.
Oh, they
don't
were
know.
deadly. They were deadly. It'd be slippery too, as can be.
It would be slippery.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So probably my biggest project, and I say mine, whenever you see good, high quality precision machining from Fliver Channel, it's not me, it's my brother. I design the stuff, but my machining skills are pretty rudimentary, but he's quite a decent machinist. And this is my quick release steering wheel mechanism. It's just like an air chuck with the balls that expand out and the sliding sleeve. But I started by doing it all in 3D printed parts and fitting it all together and making sure that the concept worked. I even had it bolted right on the car with the little planetary gear set in the couldn't put much load into it with the plastic parts, but you could tell that it all fit up before we machined anything.
Okay, this is a video on your channel? Why have I not seen this video yet? I thought I'd watch it.
There's lots there, more than you want to watch, I'm sure. So the concept for me here was I wanted to make it easier to get in and out to get the wheel off, but any of the Fat Man wheels are added on to the length of the steering wheel, so the steering wheel moves closer to the driver.
Oh,
So sure, it folds out of the way, but then when you're driving, it's like 1.5 inches even closer to you, which I didn't like. So I wanted this to all fit in that little gap between the steering wheel hub and the planetary gearbox. So this only adds about 3/8 of an inch, a little less than that, because it all fits right in there. And it started just with the standard Model T steering shaft cut in half. Half of it attaches to the steering wheel and has that ball cup arrangement, and the other half is installed into the planetary set there. So that's what the whole concept on this thing was getting one that fits the T. Yeah, it was fun to do.
Did you
So
always want to do it
you
that
didn't
way?
think,
Sorry, go ahead,
you
Randall.
you didn't think a spoked metal flake steering wheel would look good on there,
Banjo spoked.
huh? Thanks for making us all look like a bunch of hacks.
Exactly.
All right, so we're going to go back to Vince now and look at his muffler.
So yeah, you can get these repopped. There's guys out there that recast them, and actually, a buddy of mine had said, "Hey, what about those dust covers? Dust covers, yeah. It's not an exact kind of a replica, but I thought it would be convincing enough, and it would kind of still give you that same sound on an antique engine, which is kind of like a low pop and a ping at the same time. So, yep, a lot of bubble gumming going on there. Just kind of stick it all together, fill up a whole bunch of holes, and then use a flapper and contour the whole thing and kind of make it blend in. So that's what I did.
It looks so perfectly blended in. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Just spend some time at it, and you can kind of get it looking pretty
Look
good.
at that. Look at that. That thing's perfect.
What,
And then
what did you say the actual covers were originally?
just hub dust covers off, semi tractor.
Oh,
No
okay.
kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
That's ingenious.
It's not like they're all that expensive to buy. I mean, that's the thing about a lot of these parts that guys like us and everyone out there makes is the parts aren't always that expensive. It's just that you kind of want to do it yourself. Just
Yeah.
not like you're trying to save $1 million. It just kind of feels good when you finish something up and you say, well, I made that, or we made that, or whatever, and you kind of look at something and kind of gives you a little more better proud feeling. I know it's not. People will say, well, that doesn't look like the original. Well, whatever. I'm kind of one of those guys who says, well, who cares? I own it. So look however I want it to look. So,
I always tell them there's plenty of originals in museums. Go look at them.
go enjoy them.
Yeah, indeed. Now, you don't have to be quite this sophisticated in building your own parts. Randall, you did a oil checker. That's pretty simple.
Getting to me.
I think just about anybody could do this project, and yet
I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm back.
there it is.
And
that was born out of just frustration and worry of not knowing exactly how much oil I had.
Randall, how stupid am I for not coming up with a great idea? That is such a great idea.
So I went to the hardware store, or maybe the farm store, and got me some popcorn, and and came home with just that and the other thing, and just made it up.
I think it's genius. You work a lot faster than I do, though, I noticed.
Yeah. Well, I had a couple cups of coffee that morning. And
well, I'm not asking what oil to put, because if we ask that question, we're going to be over.
God.
We'll crash the servers at YouTube.
Oh yeah. Now this is just my way of being comfortable with how much oil's in it, because they leak like a sieve, so you never know how much you've really got in there. And
the genius with this design is that you can run it with the taps closed. Because a lot of people use the sight glasses, and that's actually what's on my car when I bought it, is these, let's go back a bit, these glass sight glasses.
Mm-hmm.
But they can get broken while you're driving along without you knowing about it.
Absolutely.
And then you lose all your oil, right?
Yeah, it'll all just pump out of there.
But this one's genius, because you say, oh, the plastic hose will get ripped off while you're driving, but you don't care, because when you're running it, you're running with the valves closed. But now you got to bend 5 inches lower to get under there and do this, Randall. See, it was a mistake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let's take a look at this. This is my double spare.
Ah,
I like that.
So I have no reason to put a double spare on this car except that it looks cool. No other reason at all. But with the steel wheels, the rear spare mount can only hold one. So you can see the triangle original mount there. And then I had to make, because these are Model A wheels I'm putting double spare on, they're at a different bolt circle than the Model T wheels. So first thing I had to do was adapt that wheel mount from the Model T pitch diameter out to the Model A pitch diameter. So I did that with these little eccentrics. So these, you can swing them until you get the right diameter.
mm-hmm. Great idea.
Super easy to make that way. And then I got my brother to machine these up. That's why they look lovely. But they've got the taper at one end with a female thread, and then they just extend out the width of the stack of wheels, and then studs at the other end to put your standard nuts on again. But it gives you that cool look.
Make valves for an engine. I use grade 5 bolts to make valves out of. So then from there I go down to here, and so I got a blank, right? You're gonna need a bigger drill press, Ben. That's correct. You're gonna need a bigger drill. And then from there I cut a basic angle, and so I end up, like I said, I end up with that. So you end up, so this is your blank. You end up with a blank, and then you cut, make your undercut and all that kind of stuff. And
it's always a pain when work gets in the way of our hobbies.
I know, right? What is this business about? Why am I not retired yet? Oh my god!
I remember work.
Yeah, vaguely remember it.
I remember that.
Are you happier being retired than you were when you were working and stuff?
Say yes, Randall. Say yes, Randall.
Yes, I'm a lot happier. First of all, I haven't lost all my money and have to eat cat food yet. And, but I'll tell you something, I was all about being retired. I mean, that was my end goal. I was full force. I want to be retired. And then once I retired, I was a maintenance chief. And once I retired, after a couple of weeks, I started thinking, okay, well, I was that then. What am I now? Right. And it was kind of like, God, I don't know who I am now, because you wear that like clothes, every day.
Yeah, this is you. It's been you.
Yeah. And then I found this stupid YouTube thing and I haven't looked back.
That's who you are now.
That's who I am now, yeah.
Okay. Is it going pretty fast for you, or is it like time flying, or no?
Well, it goes still like crazy. Oh my God. Yeah. Just a week is gone. And
just like that.
Or a day is gone and I go, I don't think I've got out of this chair all day.
Isn't it bizarre though, as we get older, the time just seems to get faster, but when you think back when you were a kid, summer holidays almost lasted.
They lasted forever.
Yeah.
Well, I always say that the time between being 15 and being 16, when you can get your license, that was like 27 years.
Yeah. It's like human to dog years, right? There's a big...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And since I've been retired, it's been like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Glenn says that you were clean shaven when you're retired. Now look at you.
Yeah, now look at me.
That's 5 years of beard growth.
Yeah, it's pretty much, well, maybe not that long, but yeah. I figure, I've got to the point where I can just look my age, and you go in stores and they say, geez, I'm not dealing with this guy,
Oh man. Right on. we're here. Sorry about the glitchy intro. I had forgotten to plug something in, but I think it's better now. Everyone, welcome.
Hey, Stephen.
Bruce, it's good to see you guys. Bruce, we got some introductions for you here. We got Rob from Kitchener-Waterloo, Vince from Manitoba, and Randall, from Iowa. Welcome, Bruce. It's
Never
great
heard
to
of him.
have you with us.
Hey, Bruce.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
No, it's our pleasure, and we're really excited to talk to you. So we wanted to talk tonight about roadside repair jobs and that sort of thing. I know Rob's got some recent experiences along these lines. You want to tell us about it, Rob? I think that was on our. You want to talk about something on our recent Niagara tour?
Yeah, I could start with one particular story on that tour. Difference was I decided to drive my car from where I live to Niagara Falls, which is probably 150 kilometers. So what, a little under 100 miles, somewhere around that level. And roughly halfway down that way, I started to get some backfiring. It started to buck and choke, and it was just running miserably. And so as I'm slowing down and people riding behind me are getting increasingly annoyed, I let down on the throttle, on the accelerator a little, and it started to even out. And I thought, well, that's an interesting clue. So I kept going a little piece further at a lower rate, and I decided to speed up again. Well, almost instantaneously, it started choking and coughing and backfiring. So I pulled over to the side of the road and I inspected. I thought I would take a look at my coil box first. I did see all 4 coils firing. And if I revved the engine, if it had idled for a while, it seemed to rev just fine. So I got back into the car and I drove another half mile, and the same thing happening. So then I said, well, I need to stop and think this one through. And so the conclusion that I came to, because of the fact that the throttle seemed to have an impact in it. And so it occurred to me that it might be a blockage in the fuel. So important safety tip, if you decide that you want to start to address your fuel flow at the side of the road, try not to blow directly into fuel lines. I mean, it's not a particularly good taste, and I wouldn't recommend it. So anyhow, pulled the fuel line, and sure enough, there was a bit of a blockage. So it turns out that I was able to add a little bit of pressure from the gas tank, pressing down and catching it into a pan that I had. And so there had been just a piece of gunk, wasn't rust, but it was something in between, dirt, that had blocked the line. Once I recovered that, it did return back to full operating speed. So the moral of that story is, as you're driving along and it starts to choke and cough, while it can be a lot of things, you really want to pay attention to the symptoms. And as you're kind of experimenting alongside of the road, pay attention. Does it seem to go away when you decelerate or when you let off the accelerator? Does it do it the same? Does it cough and jump regardless? That can be an indicator as to whether or not you're talking fuel, if you're talking electrical, or the worst case scenario, both.
Now, Bruce, losing a wheel while you're driving along, you gotta tell us more about this one.
So this car is a 1930 Model A Ford. Actually belongs to a friend of mine named Daryl. And he calls me up and he says, "Hey, Bruce, I lost my wheel." I said, "What do you mean you lost your wheel?" He says, "It's out in the cornfield." I said, Oh my! I said that's ridiculous. So he was like, I don't know, a mile from my house. So we jumped the truck and grabbed a floor jack and went over there. Sure enough, he made his wife run out to the cornfield and get the wheel, and they had it back to the car. But of course, there was no lug nuts. So I said, well, we need to take a lug nut off each wheel. And he says, I don't really want to do that. What if they get loose? I said, well, in that case, let's just take the spare off. We'll put this. I don't know if we put the spare tire on or we just took the lug nuts off. I kind of forget. But we just used those 3 lug nuts, got the car jacked up and back to my place. And then he didn't trust it. Then after that, I went around and checked all the rest of the lug nuts, and they were hair loose, but not bad. And so he rode with the fellow you see there in the picture, John, holding the crank. And so we had a good day. Made a good day out of it, but it was just one of them things. I guess the moral here is check your lug nuts.
Yeah, I think that's.
And whatever you do, do not use an impact gun on Model A lug nuts, but you'll run that through the rim. That's, you just want to hand tighten them, but you want probably 30 to 50 pounds of torque.
Yeah, a lot less than a modern car in terms of torque, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's good. No damage done when the brake drum skidded down the road?
It's got a flat spot on the bottom of the drum. I don't think that it's that bad. He still hasn't changed it. I think he's still mad at it.
Now this is a 1911 T. Is that yours, Bruce?
This is my favorite car. This is I really like this T. This has been in my family. Wait, I got to change hats. We got to get with the right era here. Okay, there we go.
Oh, changing hats to match. That's good.
Yeah. Well, I gotta keep the program alive here. So anyhow, it's been to Niagara Falls, by the way, Stephen, on a tour. It's been all over the country. It's been down to Wichita Wachi, Florida. It's been out west. It's been all over. And he had rebuilt the motor back today, had it balanced, always run good. And I decided I was going to have a tour. This is the tour I was having, a couple of other cars there. And we was having a good day, and we were all done. We decided to go out for ice cream. Maybe go to the next picture. We went out to get ice cream, and we was coming back. I was sitting. I'll go to the next one. I was sitting at a stoplight. Light turned green. I just took off, and I heard this whack. And I'm like, well, that don't sound good. And believe it or not, that's looking at number 1 rod bearing there. It snapped right at the crank journal, right where the rod's at. That's number 1.
Oh, wow.
And it ran. I don't know how it ran. I went through the intersection, went down a hill, and went probably 2 football fields. It was still running. And we pulled over and stopped, shut off. I got out and I put it in gear, and I tried to crank it. And of course, the number 1 went around, but the rest of the car didn't move. I'm like, okay, I'm now a member of the 2-piece crank club.
So Bruce, that still sort of ran because you still had 2, 3, and 4 connected to the trans, but 1 was disconnected basically.
Yeah, but if you think about it, one's connected to the cam. That's running.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cam wouldn't turn, right?
Right.
All right. So if you're ever on a car tour, everybody's always lost. They're always the blind following the blind. There's always saying, "Go to the next picture." They're always saying, "Which way do we go?" And the consensus here was we go that way. So, that's just a car tour is just a crooked road between places to eat, and the mandatory ice cream stop is always in the afternoon. So
Yeah.
which way? So we are now in Texas, Australia, down under. This is I got the rare opportunity to go down under and partake on a Model T tour, and this is the 2 cars that I got to drive alternately. I drove the 4-door there the most. And as luck would have it, we was on a tour, and guess what? We had some breakdowns. So the on-the-road breakdown on the 4-door, go to the next picture, was overheating. Of course, it's always warm down there. Oh, I like this. Oh, that's good. So there we took the hood off. Like back to my number 1 thing. If the motor's run hot, just take the hood off. Speedster guys already know this because they don't usually run hoods or they take the sides off. So that was a quick fix. And you can go back to the cows. So over there or down there, 12,000 miles from here. Anyhow, yeah, the cows was free roaming because at the time we was over there, it was a drought, and so the only grass that was growing was alongside the roads, because if it got any rain, it would wash off, and that's where the grass grows. So they was letting everything free roam. So you can see the cow patties down on the left. We had to dodge, and of course we had to wait on the cows, and then just kind of looked at us. That was interesting. And of course,
That's amazing trip to be able to tour in Australia.
Oh, it was. It was a chance of a lifetime. There's some actual kangaroos. These are the female kangaroos, are the smaller ones. The males are the big ones you always see punching, boxing people. But so, and then, oh yeah, well, you Canadian guys, you'll get this. The speed limit's 100, which is really about 60 and our numbers. But I thought that was kind of ironic, funny, because we're out in the middle of nowhere, and I have no clue which way is north, south, east, and west, and I don't even know where I'm at. And we got separated from the group. It's like, well, I guess we're going right. I figured, country's an island. If I just keep driving, I got to find water sometime.
It's a big island. Oh wow! Now these aren't your cars, right?
Same size as the United States with half the population. So yeah, I would have been driving for it. So this picture here, and I gotta change hats here again. So
these are all left drive cars. So they weren't originally from Australia, right? Or they weren't British. They weren't European at all.
This bigger car was shipped over from America. That other car, if you go back to that first one, was actually an Australian car. And the way I understand it, the chassis were built in Canada, shipped to Australia, and then Australian companies built their own bodies. Is the way I understand it.
Yeah, that was the most common, according to Mitch Taylor. Yep.
What was that, Stephen?
Yeah, I was asking Mitch Taylor about. I was asking Mitch Taylor about that when I was interviewing him. He's the Model T YouTuber from Australia, and he said, yeah, very few Australian cars have a Canadian-made body. They always, for the most part, they ship chassis only from the Windsor, Ontario plant all over the Commonwealth, including Australia, and then they had their own coach builders in Australia that put the bodies on. So
that touring car, the maroon one, it's got kind of a straight body on it. Looks more like a 13, 14 body. But that windshield is a fixed windshield, and it's all one piece of glass. It doesn't remove, it doesn't open. And the top is a soft top, but it had metal rails. You actually couldn't put it down. It was to stay up. And over there, they all run. They call it. It's more to keep the sun off of it. So yeah, it doesn't matter what country you're in or what you're driving. Anything's going to break sooner or later. Usually, guys will call me and say, "What's going on with my car? Like, it's not running right." So a good friend of mine, Hank, again, called me up and says, "Hey, I'm running down the road and started loading up. I pulled over. I got gas running everywhere out of the carburetor. What do I do?" I said, "Well, it sounds to me like your float's stuck and it's just letting air out." I said, "You got something to hit it with?" And he says, "What do you mean hit us?" I said, "Oh, look around, see if there's a rock somewhere." And he says, "Well, I'm out in the middle of a cornfield." I said, "There's no rocks in the cornfield." I said, "Let's go get a rock and tap on top of the carburetor. That'll fix it." So he went out there and found one and tapped on it. He says, "You're a genius." I said, "No, it's just something you got." A friend of mine was driving a T, and it was all restored, beautiful looking T, but it had the death wobble. Every time you hit a bump, the wheels would do one of these numbers. And he goes, "Well, I'm not going to drive it tomorrow, 2-day tour." And I said, "Well, let's fix it." He said, "Can't be that much wrong with it." He said, "Oh, no, I'm not messing with it." And he was older. So unbeknownst to him, after everybody went in for the night about 8, 9 o'clock, I went out to look the trailer up, so I'm going to see what's wrong with this thing. Well, I guess it'd be the pitman arm and the drag link where they meet, the steering, bottom of the steering column, was just loosey-goosey. Yeah, and so there was no shims or anything. You couldn't tighten it up any. It was loose. So I'm thinking, what can I put in there? Thinking back on it now, I should have used a penny or a nickel. I didn't have it. I was drinking water, so I took one of these and cut the sides off of it and stuck this plastic round part in there, put it back together, and made a shim. That is what's known as a semi-temporary permanent fix. It's still in there.
It's still in there.
Bruce, also
did-
known as a temporary 10-year fix.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
but that's
the-
not period correct, Bruce. I don't know if
I'm
that
saying,
can be allowed.
it's a nickel or a penny. That would have worked better.
Well, it would have had to been the right date, though, right? Like 1920s.
Yeah, that would
We got to
probably-
wrap it. We got to wrap this up. I got to get out to the garage.
Yeah, you got your water bottle ready. You're gonna fix your steering right away.
Now, Bruce, you must have a story about coils. Like, we haven't talked trembler coils here. I all the touring that you've done, I'm sure you've had your fair share of failures or having to fiddle with them.
Not really. I usually keep them up, and I've never really had a coil failure.
Yeah, now I do have a story about a coils from the only tour I've ever done, which was just a couple weekends ago. But it's not much of a story, really. I mean, I was driving back from on the last day of the tour, driving back from the last stop to the campsite, and it was a free for all. Everybody was just going their own way. It wasn't really a route. It's just everybody heading back in their own way. And for the first time in the tour, I was completely on my own. Rob wasn't around. He was going off to do some errands or something on the way. And, I thought I'll just drive back. That's no biggie. I've got GPS and I can find my way. But sure enough, 5-10 minutes after Rob leaves and I'm all alone on the tour, the car starts sputtering and struggling to go up hills and won't go any more than 25 miles an hour. And, I was pretty sure I knew I had lost a cylinder because I had the same problem there a couple of years ago. And so I just limped it home because I was only, I guess, the last 15 minutes of the whole weekend just to get it back to the campsite. But before I shut it off, when I got there, I popped the cover off the coil box and just felt which ones were trembling and which ones weren't. And sure enough, there was one of them that wasn't buzzing anymore. So it had gone. I don't know what yet. I haven't tried to diagnose what the problem was, but all your tours, Bruce, and you've never had a coil problem, and here I am on my first one. I guess I've got a lot to learn about looking after these things. Now, Randall, you had any good breakdown stories?
I have forgot to turn the gas on once or twice. And
that can happen. That's an easy one to fix.
I don't have a starter on mine, so it makes a spectacular show in the middle of an intersection when they get up and get it started again. Yeah. Because it's hot now and it doesn't want to start.
Of course.
Yeah. But
and the more people watching, the less likely it will start as well, I find.
We're always trying to build a better mousetrap. I mean, that's been the whole history of the Model T. There's been thousands of companies that build accessories for the Model T. Oh, this is the latest and greatest thing. You've got to have this.
Oh, absolutely. It's all been building a better mousetrap right since the beginning, right? It changes every year, whatever. Right?
Day one, they got the car started. Day two is how do we make it go faster?
There we go. That's the finished product. Right there, what it looks like now. And let's see. Yeah, there's a clip out of some video I shot with a camera pointed at it as I was driving. Now that is a rod from a 36 Chevy.
Oh yeah.
And it was real close to fitting around the tube of the rear end, as you can see.
How did you come up with that? Like, how did you think, I wonder if a connecting rod would fit around? Have you seen that somewhere before?
So I found two 36 Chevy ones and just ordered them on a whim, thinking that, I'll make them fit. And after I melted the babbitt out of them and ground them out a little bit, they did fit over the tube.
So, but then you had to cut them off? Were they too long?
Yeah, I cut about 1.5 inches out of the center of them, and then I notched them so I could turn the piston pin part. I could turn it 90 degrees and stick it together.
Oh yeah. There you go. Like that. Cool.
Great
So-
idea.
The shock absorbers are old Sears and Roebuck ones, by the way, new old stock.
And you made that.
I-
You made that top mount bracket too.
Yeah, that's from a rear cross member from T.
Oh, no kidding.
Isn't that genius?
That
I
is.
love it. Love it.
That's
Yeah.
real ingenuity right there. That's you see these people, they make these things, they just kind of stick stuff on that looks like I'll just like say steampunk, but it doesn't fit. They're just sticking crap on. But
Yeah.
what Randall did here is adapted like something from the past and used it today, and it totally fits, and actually it's useful, and that's the most amazing thing. What did you use?
Yeah.
Grade 4 or sorry, grade 5, grade 8? What did you use there?
Oh no, that's way too expensive. I just got the
Whatever
cheap
you
ones
had.
for 50.
Hardware store bolts from the bin.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
Sorry, that's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment. I didn't mean. I wasn't too serious.
Grade 8, you think I'm made of money?
This drill on the screen has a storied past too, doesn't it, Randall?
What?
Oh yeah, that's my $6 Salvation Army drill.
Is it a Black and Decker? What is that thing?
That's a Rockwell.
Oh, it is Rockwell.
Oh, that's a rich guy drill.
I love it.
Yeah.
That thing's working. Look at how that works. That works awesome. Look at that.
Your little GoPro's working good there. Oh, that was really interesting. The one I wanted to show tonight was one I saw on the Facebook. And this I found just so simple and elegant. As one of you as David has recently said about Randall's solution. I did not do this. This is by David Smith on Facebook. I just saw it and I thought it was amazing. I know, Randall, you noticed this one when it was online too.
Oh
And,
yeah, caught my eye.
I'm just gonna. This is a drum brake adaptation for Model T for the rear wheels, hydraulics, so juice brakes, using old. I think in this case he used Buick parts, but he uses whatever he can find. I think he's used Ford Edsel parts before, and he'll just take the brake system that he can get new shoes and springs and such for, and then make himself an adapter plate and mount it up on the rear axle of the Model T, and then he'll adapt the drums onto the Model T hubs. So in this case, he's drilled them out so that they fit the Model T wire wheel hubs. And so this is the Buick hub or whatever it is he's using in this instance. Sorry, the drum. And here's what it would look like on a wood wheel. He does it both ways. And then when you put that all on the car, you get hydraulic rear brakes that look absolutely stock from the outside looking in. And then he'll add in a master cylinder on the brake pedal. And even that he did in a beautiful, elegant way. You can't see it that well here, but the next slide, this shows you the yoke he made up and how he attached it to the brake pedal. But the next slide really shows how he did this. And here you can see the master. He just made up that one mounting plate. I find this just such a nice job. So well done. I'm really inspired by it.
Of course, you know this guy's rotten in hell because he messed with the Model T, but you know,
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Yeah, the purists will be steaming out the ears, but they
Well,
wouldn't even notice, I don't think.
If there's one thing that none of us are as purists, I can that's for sure.
I can't afford it.
No, can't afford to be that pure.
No. I'd speak for yourself. I'd never put anything but Model T parts on my Model T ever.
No, those vinyl weather curtains you put on. Are like those.
Yeah.
I remember reading a story about Henry Ford, and he says, "You know what this Model T needs is a GoPro."
Yep.
You got to remember that even before the T came into existence, there were electric cars running around with lead acid batteries in them.
Yep.
Right.
In like New York and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the weight of a vehicle like that with a bank of lead acid batteries, enough for the day, right? Holy
Yeah.
cow!
On those wood wheels with the 85 psi tires, the
That's
white
right.
the white rubber tires.
How much
Yeah,
load can you actually carry?
those fools back then thought it was a bad idea. You know, we've come
Yeah,
so
I know.
far.
Everything's a circle, isn't it?
It does seem to be. Yeah, there are probably detractors for gasoline engines just the same as there are detractors for electric vehicles, right? It's the same.
Well, you know what the electric people said back then was, well, you can't possibly feel safe with explosions going on underneath your seat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy. And you carry a tank of explosive liquid around with you everywhere
Right.
you go.
Right?
It's
Can you
nuts.
imagine that?
Think of the fires.
And there's no,
And where would you
there's
ever
no
get it
place-
filled?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go to down to the drugstore to get your fuel.
Yeah, it's crazy. Whereas we can
Yeah,
just plug it in at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here you can see, I don't want to give the whole story away here, but you can see that he's got the exhaust coming from a single point. And that's kind of, I imagine that was attractive because it's something you could do yourself, right, Randall? Without having to do
Yeah.
a complex header type.
Yeah,
type
and
thing.
it would exhaust freer. It's just, you know, it
Yeah.
comes out in the center. It doesn't have to go clear down the manifold to come out.
Right. All right, cool. So I found, thanks to Randall's help, the video that inspired him. So hopefully we're not going to get copyright strike. Here we go. This is a video from the Alberta Model T races a few years back.
Yeah.
And I will try and pause it when we get to the one. Dude, look at the battery just hanging on the side there.
There you go. Oh, these guys show these things no mercy. Oh,
I love them.
yeah. I think it was around the 19-minute mark, somewhere in there.
Dirt bike tires on the rear for grip.
Oh, yeah.
Nice disc
Neat.
wheels. Those are nice.
That's pretty cool looking, isn't it? Look
Isn't
at
that sweet?
I think that
almost
guy
looks
bought
like-
that one new.
Looks like a Brooklyn sprint car almost.
That might be an Ames body. They in the day they did build speedster bodies you could buy
That's
from
pretty
catalog.
neat. Love that.
That's not the one. Excuse me.
Nope, that's not it.
Here it is, orange one.
He's coming. There it is in the back, right there.
So
They
this
just don't care. Just run them. Who cares? Just have a good time.
all right, Randall. I will let you explain what we're looking at here.
Okay, well, like I say, I apologize. I couldn't find better pictures, but that is a vaporizer manifold, intake manifold. That, well, a vaporizer is intake and exhaust. But what I done was I saw that and I thought, well, okay, well, you know, your exhaust, instead of traveling all that way through the manifold, it's going to travel toward the center and out, and I can have a big hole there for it to just dump out like this guy.
Mm.
And what it is, you take the manifold, the vaporizer, and you turn it upside down.
Oh.
And then you plug off the original exhaust, and then you make a plate that goes over where the plate was for the vaporizer, and you put a piece of pipe on there to hook to, and then your exhaust is coming out through that hole there in the center.
Yeah.
Right? That's an awful explanation, but that's the best I can do. And then I'd always seen pictures of speedsters where the exhaust went clear to the back and then it was wrapped in asbestos.
Right.
And I always liked the look of that. So I went ahead and his just dumps down and out, and I went ahead and brought it clear to the back.
So you can see the wrap he's added, the fiberglass
Yep.
wrap.
Make this
That's
big-
performance wrap. You got that bulge is your catalytic converter.
That is, that's actually a modern flex joint.
In 1927, Ford introduced a vaporizer carburetor for the Model T because the quality of the fuel was getting so bad that the standard carbs weren't vaporizing the fuel very well.
Okay.
So the vaporizer carburetor combined the intake and the manifold so that the manifold heat would heat up a vaporizer plate that the vaporizer carburetor would pass the fuel through.
Okay.
And what Randall's done is taken that combination exhaust and intake manifold and plugged holes and opened holes, turned it upside down so that he only uses the exhaust portion and gives you a single connection.
That's the key to the whole thing, is turning that manifold upside down and mounting it that way.
That's neat. That's neat.
That is neat. So
it's like Where's Waldo? I think I've been encouraging Randall to do a walk around really slowly with his camera and just talk about all the parts. We haven't all seen every video he made, and I know you did a lot of work on the car even before you did videos, so there's all kinds of stuff on there. It's like those headlights are from a Buick, right?
Yeah, 1915 Buick. Yeah.
No kid.
And they've got a really neat mounting system. It's just like, and every detail on this car is just interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good idea. I'll steal that from you and see if I can get any views out of it. Of course, you know, if you were a real friend, you'd bring your fancy camera equipment down here and do it for me.
Yeah, well, it's only 10 hours drive away. We just figured that out while we were getting set up for the
Is it just
stream.
10, Steven?
Yeah, just 10 and a half hours. And it's like for you, Vince, that's like just a morning's drive, right? So I wanted to show another thing that has fascinated me from the moment I got interested in antique cars. And some of you will know what I'm getting at here right away, because I never stop talking about these things. So let me find the button here. There we go. And I'm talking about lever arm friction shocks.
Oh, man.
So these guys here, in the day, there were very few good damping systems for vehicles. A few people tried cotton straps that bind on each other. They called them what they call them, cinchers, or I have a sticker. I have it written down. Anyway, I can't think right now. It'll come to me. Grabbers and all kinds of weird names. But anyway, one of the ways it was done was just a stack of plates with leather discs or wooden discs and a nut that you could, and a spring that you can tighten up, and it just generates friction in this joint.
Cool.
And you can buy these from old cars and fit them up onto your car. Or Vince, you'll appreciate this. My friend in Sweden, Magnus, who has this incredible Fiat he calls Flying Fiona, he has them on here. You'll see. And you'll get a kick out of this, Vince. He made them himself from scratch.
Holy crap, look at this.
Every part.
Wow.
And he aged them. He waxed them with a hammer and he engraved them and everything. He did to make everything look authentic. He used wood discs.
Metal, wood. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is just a spring steel plate that's got some cupping to it, and then a big nut and a lock nut so you can keep tightening it, because these wear really quickly, right? You have to keep adjusting them all the time.
Yeah.
So you end up with, oh, sorry, that one's a bit blurry.
Oh, those are beautiful.
Isn't that neat? And he made those.
Something.
This is definitely a Vince project, because this is when I see you working with the brass and doing all that fine turning and work that you do. This remind here's the wood discs stacked up.
I love them. And he's got those a bit convex or concave, whichever way
Yeah.
you look at.
Yeah, I don't know whether he started with something that shape and had them plasma cut. I'd have to ask him. I don't think he's on the chat. Yeah, he's in Sweden, and he builds whatever he's interested in. For a few years there, he was interested in building this old Fiat up. And like most of us, he doesn't have a huge budget, so he wanted these shocks. Couldn't buy them, so he made them.
Somehow we came across this idea of friction resistance, right? And that's fantastic. I love that. That's fantastic. How unique is that? Like you almost don't think of that, right? Like there was a time before there were springs and shock absorbers, and you had and people knew that they had friction. So how can we use friction? And they knew that they had to adjust it over time because it would wear. I mean, that's fantastic.
Those are really neat.
I'd love to have some of those. They're horribly expensive.
Yeah. What's the quarter mile time to beat? Is that
right. How'd you do?
I think that's Bruce 26 something.
Yeah. Something like that.
Or 25. Yeah. He won't open the hood on that car. He says he has secrets he's not willing to share.
Well, just so you know, Scott, you're still last.
No. I'm slowest by far.
Oh well,
yeah.
Come up one.
No.
All right.
My low compression special rings that also pump oil out the filler. They tend to reduce the power I have available. That's my experience. I am the only one who's done the test on gravel, which I think everyone should be doing a gravel run.
It's a fair test.
Yeah.
Levels
to make it fair.
Into the 20s. Wow. Yep. Good for you.
You wait. I'll do it on my truck with my jumbo 2-speed, and we'll see what I get on that.
Yeah.
Randall, did you ever redo your quarter mile time with the rebuild or no?
No, I haven't. I should do that.
Done.
Yeah, but wait for a cool evening or something. Yeah, evening.
We'll I'll do it again, and then after you guys tell me what you got, I'll let you know what I got.
I'll maybe.
And I can almost guarantee it's lower. I can feel it.
we need to check that it's not downhill or something.
Yeah, you gotta check all the elevators. There's so many.
We're gonna allow guys to cheat. What's the point?
Exactly. Yeah, I never said it wasn't a downhill gravel road, did I?
Who's the guy picks an uphill one? Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I think we'll get more people enjoying and trying the quarter mile.
I filmed my quarter mile deal by myself. What a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it is. I did mine too. Yeah.
Did you set up two cameras, like one at the start, one at the end, too, when you pass through the beam? There's no beams, but if you pass through the beams at the end.
Well, I only had one camera, so I set it up over and over again. I just did the run over and over again, and then you put it all together in editing, and it looks like you had many cameras.
Well, I had the phone in one hand, the steering wheel in the other hand, and I knew, what tree at the other end was the quarter mile. Yeah. So I drove down there like this, and at the other end, just by chance, that day, they were digging a hole in the middle of the street. So I had to get to that tree, hit the button on my phone, steer and miss those guys at the end of the street, and get it stopped.
You start it up, you rev up the engine a little, you get it running nice and as it should, and then you push your parking brake forward part way, and you start to press on the low speed band. And at that moment, imagine your entire transmission jams up. It lunges your car forward, and you end up jumping about 6 feet and coming to an abrupt stop. That is exactly what I faced last September. After that event, I ended up doing as one would do. I lifted up the floorboards, I opened up the inspection panel, and I looked in, and I could see gear teeth missing. And I said, well, oh no, this is much bigger than this fixed. So fast forwarding ahead here, this is after the transmission came off of the car. You'll see that, and I have a circle around one of the missing triple gear teeth. And that was consistent through all three of the triple gears. Looking at the drums, so this is what you're looking at here in the circle is the corresponding low speed gear. So this is attached. This is part of the low speed drum. And you can see that things were so buggered and jammed together that it actually tore a chunk out of the spur gear itself. And so the metal that you're seeing underneath that is actually the shaft that comes out of the brake drum, right? And the brake drum is what rides on all of this, right? Or I'm sorry, everything rides on the brake drum. So it was a fatal situation. There was nothing that could be done short of a rebuild at this point.
We can see that here. So the flywheels,
there it is.
Your orange one.
Yes.
And then your triple gears are tucked in here.
Yes.
Your low speed, the reverse drum, and then the low speed drum, and then the brake drum, right?
Exactly right. That's a fantastic diagram there, by the way. Yeah. What was happening was my drums were all loose on top of each other, right? The bushings had been well worn. There we go. Essentially, the transmission's back together. The engine has been cleaned up, and you can wiggle. You can get a sense for any play in the drums, right? Because it's one thing for the triple gears to be slightly loose, right? And they do wear out over time, but check your drums. Make sure that they themselves are not wiggling. And then there's a question, 65 Bugnut, a question about what oil you use.
Oh no, this is going to be a long live stream now.
This is where we get canceled.
Yeah. I can just see YouTube shutting us down now.
Well, I will just tell you what I use. Yeah. Go ahead, Randall.
That's a touchy subject, so I've decided to just not use any oil.
Yeah.
A little bit of WD-40 now and then is all you need, really.
Good.
I just spray it in there and go.
So tonight's topic is found tools. It was Vince who kind of came up with this topic, actually, and then he conveniently couldn't make it tonight. I noticed that too, Randall. I noticed that too.
Failed on us.
Yeah. He's not here to defend himself, so we can take advantage. I better not keep drinking coffee that fast, or I'm going to talk so quickly no one will be able to understand me.
Yeah, and you'll be off doing other stuff. Probably better not go any further. I think I can hear the mob forming out in the street already.
Yeah, I left the door open. That might have been a mistake. It's finally not hot here out in the shed. So the last month I was dying. We were doing this live stream and I was just wringing wet. It was awful. I'm thinking, why did I do this in the garage? Why didn't I go in the house?
The Salvation Army store. I don't know, if those Salvation Armies are everywhere, but they're like a junk shop and they try to help people out that have, no place to live and addiction stuff and all that. Anyways, this is a J.C. Penney.
No kidding.
Yeah. Drill. I got this for $5.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is, you can turn this to different positions and it's got three different things here. I'm running backwards. There we go. 3 different deals here that it'll do. One of them, of course, is just drilling. It'll do that. And it's multi-speed forward and reverse. The other one is for drilling in concrete. So it's, hitting it like that.
Hammer, yeah. I don't imagine you've used that mode on your car.
No, Man, and I never work on my house, so that'll probably never get used. And the other one is for you put a gouge on the end of this thing, and you can like scrape up tile or paint, putty, stuff like that. And
Oh, so it doesn't spin in that mode, eh? It's only a chisel.
no, just goes in and out like
That's
that.
pretty neat.
It's real.
Yeah.
Well, as with everything that's more than 40 years old, it has a lot of heft to it.
Yeah, well, and it'll last another 100 years, whereas the plastic stuff you buy now won't.
Yeah. And it works fine. I haven't really used it for much yet because my other Salvation Army $5 drill is still running.
Right.
So this is backup.
But what's that dangly thing on the end there with like two prong? Like, what's that?
That's a cord. This is
a what? A cord.
This is the cord that you plug into the wall. Yeah.
Any wall?
We use 100. You guys in your 20 volt crap and 30 volt crap. We use 120. We die like men when we run this. Okay.
Some of these I know what they are, and some of them I don't. Now, all of these were found in the bottom of my dad's toolboxes after he passed. But some of them, like, what the heck has a triangle nut? And it's big, right? Like, across the flats on this triangle is 2 1/8 inches.
Man.
And the hex, what are we looking at here? 2 1/8 as well. It's like almost 6 centimeters for those of you who are bilingual. So there's no markings on it. So if anybody has any idea what that might have been from, I don't think it's Model T. There's nothing that big.
No,
it's just kind of cool.
It's a hubcap wrench, but I don't have any idea what that triangle part's for.
Yeah, like I've never seen that before. And it was just mixed in with all my other Model T type tools and things. So I don't know. Some old tractor, probably, I'm betting. And very similar here is this one's forged. Big square nut driver on the end here. How big's that? A 1-inch square.
Yeah.
And then a great big hex on it here. 1.5 inch cross flats hex. It's got an E like Echo stamped in it there. There might be some writing there, but I can't make it out. I'll have to get Vince to show me how to. I'm pretty sure I see the Ford logo on that one. I bet you that's Fordson Tractor or something. Some of you guys must know about Fordson stuff. Again, I don't think it's Model T. There we go. So I'm going to talk about this one. Get this out of the way. So this one's real rusty and is not currently turning. So Leaf Spring Spreader, says Mr. Mike McLean. He is the winner. Mike, you win the prize, the respect and admiration of your peers. That's what it's supposed to look like. All nice and shiny.
Ain't that something?
And then if I go, where is it? Where's my controls here? There's an original ad for one.
Wow.
More coffee.
Uh-oh. Are we keeping you up?
Yes, indeed. It's late here. Like it's 8:30.
Well, that's because you're metric.
Yeah.
It's still early here because we're
okay.
on American Standard.
Yeah.
Here. There you go.
There's Earl's little cameo. Fantastic.
Yeah. He's always here. Hey, Kyle says hi, Earl.
All right. Well, that's all we had for this evening, guys. Any questions or thoughts before we wrap things up?
What do you want to talk about, guys?
You've got two complete experts in pretty much nothing here. So if you have any questions, I'm sure we can not answer them for you.
Yep. Ask anything you want, and I'll make up an absolute bald-faced lie. Look you right in the eye while I tell it to you. Too. Yeah, I'm good at that.
All right. So I'm going to roll the credits here. Thanks, guys, for joining us. And next month, same day, same time.
All right.
And let's hope some of the more intelligent, sorry, Randall, guys in our group are here.
Man, that was rough.
It was meant to be self-deprecating, and then I realized it was kind of lumped you into the same group. So sorry about that.
I'm very comfortable there.